Welcome back to your video lesson. Today we are going to finally dive into our first song. So the first song we're looking at is the song American Pie, and why we are starting with this song is because the intro of the song, the first verse of the song, is played freely. What this means for us is that each chord that we're going to play in the beginning is strummed one time, and it's meant to align with the lyrical phrase that we are singing. A second big benefit to this song is that we get to review every chord that we have learned so far, and we get to use them in a way that challenges us to think or remember the chord shapes and use them in a melodic musical phrase. The second part of this video is going to have us working with keeping a steady rhythm and working on transitioning our chords as we play through the chorus of the song. So let's dive in to our first song, American Pie. Now, to get started with this song, we are going to start with your G chord. So we're going to find that G chord that has our root note on the 3rd fret, and I want you to strum your G chord one time. Quickly after playing that G chord, we're going to move to our D chord. Easiest way is to get your ring finger on that 2nd string, the 3rd fret of string number 2, and then have your other fingers see if they can remember where to go on that 2nd fret. We're going to strum our D chord starting with string number 4. After we play our D chord, we're going to move to an E minor. So we're moving our 2 fingers over to the 2nd fret of string 5 and the 2nd fret of string 4. And we get to strum all 6 strings when we arrive here. So let's try those 3 chords together because they move kind of quickly, but again, it's just one strum each. We're going to start with G, D chord, E minor. Now from here, our next chord in line is our A minor chord. So we're going to put your middle finger and ring finger down on string number 4 and string number 3, both on the 2nd fret, and your pointer fingers finding the 1st fret of string number 2. We're going to strum from string number 5 as we play an A minor chord. And to move to our next chord, which is C, your ring finger is the only one that really needs to lift and move. It's going to the 3rd fret of string number 5. So go ahead and strum your C chord. Now I'm going to pause us here really quickly because when we are changing chords, it is completely fine to always lift up your fingers into that chord changing space that we talked about in our core videos, where we're able to give our hand an opportunity to relax and move into the next chord shape. A lot of times when players are playing, they think we need to keep our fingers really close to the strings to help us transition or move from one chord to the next. But in the case of that A minor to C, it is common when we're playing that we might find these small movements that we can make that can move us from one chord to the next. And that is always welcomed in your playing, as long as it doesn't affect your ability to find the chord shape. So again, that A minor chord is followed by the C, and you can either lift up out of the A into your C shape, or you can just move that ring finger into your C, and we strum from string number 5. We are going to go back to our E minor chord, and your middle finger is already right where we need it to be, so it's just your pointer finger that needs to lift up and come down on the 2nd fret of string 5. And then we're going back to our D chord. For me, I always encourage players, get your ring finger down on the 3rd fret of string 2 first. That skinny string underneath that ring finger sometimes helps your hand find the rest of the chord shape. And then we're going to strum our D. If you are familiar with the song, then you know that Don McLean is playing the chord as he sings through the melody. A long, long time ago, I can still remember how the music used to make me smile. But if you are not in a place where you're ready to play and sing, what we're going to look at is how many beats we play each chord for. In the beginning, each one of those chords is getting just about 1 beat. When we play the G chord, we're going to play 1, The D chord is on beat number 2, so we're going to quickly move to our D and strum as we say beat 2. Now our E minor chord we're going to hold for 2 beats, which is a half note in our playing. So when we strum E minor, we're going to count 3 and 4. And when I put these together, it will sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Our A minor and our C chord are getting 2 beats each. So I'm going to strum A minor, count to 2, 1, 2, and then the C chord for 3 and 4. 3, 4. So let's stop there and play just those first 2 measures, putting together a little bit of a rhythm as we play through these chords freely. We're going to start with that G chord for beat number 1, D is 2, E minor is 3 and 4, A minor 1, 2, C 3, 4. Let's move on and go back to our E minor chord. Now in this case, we're going to hold this E minor chord. It's a little bit different, but we're going to play it for beats number 1, 2, and 3 before we move to the D chord on 4. So what this will sound like, strum your E minor chord and count 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, and then to your D chord on beat 4. So when we hear that as a musical phrase, what Don McLean is doing is he's singing over top of that E minor chord and he's letting the D chord sort of resolve the phrase. So we hold a little bit longer on our E minor. So when we put it together, we have E minor for 3 beats, 1, 2, 3, D on beat 4. Now here we get to experiment with some new chord shapes. And one of the common things that happens with our guitar, because our strings and our frets are so close together, it's really common that we sometimes change the sound of our chord by lifting up a finger or putting a finger down. We're going to learn more about this later on in the series when we talk about chord voicings. But this is a really fun way to start experimenting with some small changes you can make to a chord to get some more interesting sounds from your instrument. We're going to start with this D chord, and I want you to strum your D chord. Following that, take your little finger, your pinky finger. I want you to keep your main fingers in this D shape and squeeze that little finger down on the 3rd fret of string number 1. So you do have 4 fingers on your fretboard and you have 2 fingers on the same string. But the only thing we're going to hear is the sound of string number 1 holding down the 3rd fret. And this changes the sound of your D chord from this to this. All it's doing is adding a new harmony to the chord. In our music, we call this a D suspended, or SUS for short, 4. So at this point in your playing, I want you to think about your 4th finger, and that is your cue that we are playing a D sus 4. So we're going to strum D, pinky finger down to play D suspended 4. Now the reason we're keeping this middle finger on that string is because right after we play that, we're going to lift our pinky finger up and go right back to our D chord. It makes it so you don't have to move many fingers around. And then we're going to change the sound of that D chord one more time. We're going to change it by lifting up your middle finger, so string number 1, our E string, is now open, which will change the sound of our D chord from this to this. Alright, so again, all we're doing is either making one of our strings sound higher than usual or lower than usual. But when we do this in music, it keeps songs interesting. So we're going to try this little pattern of D chords. We're going to start with the D, pinky finger down for D suspended 4, pinky finger up, going back to D, middle finger up, D suspended 2, right back to your D chord. When we arrive at that part in our playing, you will play each chord for one beat. 1, suspended 4 is beat 2, back to D is 3, back, suspended 4 is beat number 4, suspended 2 is beat number 4, so we can arrive back on our D chord at the start of the next phrase. When we put all of this together, this is how your musical phrase will sound. G chord, 1, D is 2, E minor, 3 and 4, A minor, 1, 2, C chord, 3, 4, E minor, 1, 2, 3, D is 4. Here it is, suspended 4, back to D, suspended 2, back to D. Now, as we move forward through the entire verse of the song, all we're going to see is some mix or combination of those chords that we just played through. Everything that we have learned in our playing so far is going to pop back up in this beginning part. So for the next part of this video, I'm going to move us forward in the song, strumming the chords and giving us a little bit of the melody. I'm giving you a reminder that you have a PDF of this song that's included in our series, so follow along with those chords. And a really fun way to practice is sometimes to look up the original recording of the song on YouTube and play along with it. Now in the next part of this video, I'm going to play these chords slowly and go through the entire verse. So if you'd like to try to play along with me, it can be a great practice tool until you get the hang of the chords and you're ready to play it as fast as Don McLean does in the original recording of American Pie. So let's go through the remainder of that verse and see if we can get all of these chords together. Starting with the beginning, we have our G chord, 1, 2, 3, 4, A minor, 1, 2, C, 4, E minor, 2, 3, 4, suspended 4, D, suspended 2, D, right back to G, 1, D, E minor is 3 and 4, A minor, 1, 2, C, 3, 4, E minor, 2, 3, small change, we're going to C. Now our D chord, and here are our changes again, suspended 4, D, suspended 2, D. All right, little change, E minor is getting 2 beats to our A minor, 4, 3, and 4, E minor, 1, 2, A minor, 3, and 4. Play a C chord, 1, to a G chord, to an A minor. We're going to play a C chord for 2 beats, 1, 2, D. And again, just like our intro, G, D, E minor, 3 and 4, C chord, 1, 2, D. And again, G, D, E minor, go to C, for D and G.